do you think that the Supreme Court's ruling that benefited you on presidential immunity would apply to former President Barack Obama and what you're accusing him of doing?
It probably helps him a lot. He's done criminal acts, there's no question about it. But he has immunity, and it probably helps him a lot.
Trade agreement you're looking to sign too.
He owes me big.
President Trump saying former President Obama could benefit from Trump's own fight for presidential immunity. Now that Obama is tied to that explosive DNI report that details his administration's involvement in the Russia election hoax.
Here now is the report's author, Director of National Security, Tulsi Gabbard. Welcome to the show, Director.
Good morning.
Good morning. So let's talk about the reactions that you have had to this report coming out. And also you've mentioned obstacles that you've had in actually putting and compiling this report.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. Thanks for continuing to bring this story to the forefront because of the magnitude of the implications of it. It's been interesting to see how the mainstream media has either refused to cover this story at all. The headlines or the lack thereof of newspapers, Washington Post, New York Times, and others in the days following this release have actually been quite deafening in their lack of coverage. And it's interesting to see how when they do cover this, they don't actually cover the revelations that these intelligence reports and the evidence that we released actually conveys to the American people. They simply talk about their criticisms of it or convey Democrat politicians' criticisms of it, but none of them actually dealing with the truth that has been revealed. And to me, there's two reasons for that. Number one is they don't want the American people to know the truth, but also they recognize the mainstream media's complicity in this, that they were fed early lines from this manufactured false intelligence assessment that President Obama ordered, that John Brennan and James Clapper created without any vetting, without any actual journalistic integrity of looking at what they were being fed. They received it and they printed it almost immediately. And then they went on to double down and triple down on this over the next several years. I look back at, the Iraq WMD, manufactured false intelligence to support an action to go to war in another country. And I went back and looked at the mainstream media's complicity in that, and how many did they ever admit that they were wrong, that they failed as journalists? Really, they didn't. They gave, a couple of them gave some lame excuses, but there's a lot of parallels here for us to take a step back and look at, again, the magnitude of what has been revealed and why it's important to every American, not just Democrats or Republicans, but it really has to do with the foundational principles of our democratic republic and the integrity of that. That is the thing that I think a lot of the mainstream media folks, again, have refused to cover at all or are failing to focus on.
It's such an important point. Also, former President Obama's office responded to the documents that you've released, calling them bizarre allegations or ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. What is your response to the former president?
They're doing the exact same thing that people like Senator Warner are doing. He was the head of the Intelligence Committee at the time. They would have to admit and actually address the details of their complicity in this or their absolute failure in conducting the most basic responsibilities of, again, asking, where is this intelligence coming from? What are the sources? What proof do you have of these of this high confidence assessment? Remember, John Brennan and James Clapper at the time assessed, and James Comey, with high confidence that Russia aspired to help Donald Trump win the election in 2016, when there was no credible intelligence that actually reported that. So President Obama's very carefully worded response that came from his office, again, deflects away from addressing any of the truth that was revealed. Senator Warner refuses to speak the truth about how one of our whistleblowers came forward and approached his office numerous times about what had actually occurred, how he wouldn't go along with this fake intelligence manufactured report, was sidelined because of it. And guess what? Senator Warner's office wouldn't even give the whistleblower an email address to send his evidence of this, the treasonous conspiracy that we have now released to the American people. So the complicity, the deflection, and the silence of politicians, of the mainstream media, and of those directly implicated into this speaks volumes.
Director Gabbard, thank you for your clarity, your moral clarity on this, and for your courage to come out with this super quick. Can you comment also on the other parts of the intel networks that they might have been abusing against President Trump? Because I believe this is just the start, not the end, of how they abused the intel agencies against the American people. Where else are you looking? And we're only 6 months into this term. I can't imagine what else you might discover.
When you look, Charlie, at everything that happened in the months leading up to the November 2016 election, what occurred in the years after with multiple investigations from Mueller and others, there are a lot of questions that remain unanswered. We are continuing in our core mission, our pursuit of the truth and bringing transparency and accountability. So we're looking forward to continuing down this path.
DNI Gabbard, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for what you're doing.